asleep, wife said it was great. I can still see it from my house. And then the finale. Oh, it was loud. I heard that. It was. Yeah.
Ginger, didn't see Ginger. Years ago.
Years. And we got a bigger house.
Lord, you doing okay? How's your deconstruction going?
Yeah.
Okay, Paul.
And your surgical place?
Put in the address and then pull it up. Keeps giving me the man from down there. Okay.
It started like a Jake break.
That's it's 9:05. That's just. I said them.
That looked like
No,
okay. Appreciate it.
That's pretty big. Right, indeed.
I've been up since 5:30.
Sure, yeah, straight.
For 3 weeks.
Well, thought I broke everything, so maybe go for extra. Kept it over.
You guys aren't making me want to get any older.
That's what happens when you get older. You end up getting sick.
Retail standard, Greg.
It does.
I think, I don't know.
You keep
Reassuring.
saying I'm older than dirt.
I got nothing.
My grandkids told me that I'm
It's getting more.
for a purity number
It
in
is.
Sanskrit.
Social security number is 12.
Nice to meet you. Okay, cool, some leverage, sure. There you go. So, yeah, looks like we're good now.
Okay, and why will it not?
Alex knows it's 45.
He
You should.
address it.
It's on the agenda.
Everything but.
Well, I forgot about it. So I got the second email from Kathy. I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
You must have.
Have you heard anything about Ember? Paul? Have you heard anything about Ember? Yeah. So you guys work with showing their family members, but 3 days into August, they took 2 weeks off and then they called back forward yet. I'm curious. Yeah, well, I'm talking to schools. I mean, it's one of the reasons that Saturdays, it's. No reason that's so nothing. All the benefits you get there, but we have to recover this year.
Absolutely.
I mean, this market, I mean, new records, but that's not translation, like, that's not translation. That's.
Oh, is that what it is?
Complicated places.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nineteenth September, there's a break in school.
Oh, that's right. I wasn't there waiting on a day or something. It seemed to look like everything was done except the top coat. I heard. That's,
It just, I can't get it.
Yeah, when I hear we have Los Angeles. Wanted to do, and then I'm contract with a Hershey to figure somebody tipped somebody off. Yeah. Whatever. Yeah.
Hopefully it'll fix.
It'll be by now.
Got enough chairs out there.
There's 25 up there. Yeah, there's not enough. We've got more up. We got firemen that help carry.
We'll just do an outdoor meeting, I say.
Yeah, we can just move it out.
Supposed to rain later.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't pull up anything. All I can pull up is the town of Bristol.
It was good to see some progress being made on that wastewater treatment.
Oh,
Yeah, I seen it, but I didn't drive up to see how close, but I seen a lot of big equipment back there tearing shit up. I was reading yesterday, like.
Good evening,
Steve?
Steve.
It's going.
You know what?
No place to sit. They got a monitor up there.
We can do that, make it on.
That doesn't.
You can, there's a place upstairs to sit that has a monitor of the meeting, and you like. Somebody thought with direct traffic. And now he's been safe.
Over at Harding's.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was able to get it. Well, yeah, see, there was like two when I got part. Oh, that's nuts. Well, I'm sure that that's okay. I was.
So that's everything.
We're gonna start the RDC meeting in 2 minutes.
Okay.
Did you get the flyer?
How we doing?
No. I guess. Hi, Bill. Pretty good at myself.
What Jill needs.
I talked to your neighbor the other day. You what? I talked to your neighbor. Did you?
All right, we're gonna start in 1 minute.
He dropped his car off.
Figured there's a stuff that we can go through, that minutes and everything before we meet in.
Before the tree fall.
This is the RDC.
All right, first, we're gonna start with the RDC meeting, and then afterwards will be the regular scheduled town council meeting. The RDC meeting does not have a public comment portion. That's just for redevelopment commission time. There will be public comment in the regular council meeting that's following. You know, wait for Mike or?
Yeah, we'll wait for Mike to get here.
Steve was upstairs too.
Yeah. Is there any more returns up there?
Yeah, probably. We're getting some more.
Okay.
Each side.
Yeah.
All right, you ready, Mike? All right, time's now 6:45. We're gonna call the Bristol RDC meeting for September 5th to order. We're gonna start off with roll call. Doug Smith,
Here.
Dean Renfro,
Here.
Jeff Beachy,
Present.
Kathy Burke,
Here.
Greg Zahalski here. Marshall's gone. Clerk Treasurer Kathy Antonelli,
Here.
Town Manager Mike Yoder, and Legal Counsel Alex Bowman.
Here.
Okay, everybody's seen the agenda. Any additions, changes? Okay, the agenda will stand as printed. Approval of the minutes. Did everybody have a chance to look at minutes for February 15th and June 6th?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Any changes? Okay, no motion to approve minutes.
Make a motion, we approve the minutes for the RDC from February 15th and June 6th.
Second.
Motion by Jeff, second by Kathy. Take up the vote. Doug,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
and Greg is a yes. Reports, town attorney.
Thank you, Greg. The first item of business I have for you this evening is consideration of resolution 9-5-2024-6, which is entitled "The Resolution of the Town of Bristol Redevelopment Commission amending the declaratory resolution and economic development plan for the Consolidated State Road 15 Economic Development Area." As the commission may recall, back in 2022, the North State Road 15 EDA and South State Road 15 EDA were consolidated into a single economic development district. This resolution is what's required by statute to begin the process of expanding that economic development area to include the parcels that are to be considered annexed into the town during the council meeting to follow. So this is a beginning of a long statutory process to include those within the economic development area, and that will allow for TIF revenues in that district to be used for additional development projects to include the business route, bypass, etc. If you look at the resolution, it's quite hefty in its text. As I've described it, is the Spark Note. Happy to answer any questions with regards to it. As I said, this is the first step in this process. So my recommendation to the commission is to adopt this resolution as printed to get the process started.
Okay, any questions? All right. Do we have a motion to adopt resolution 9-5-2024-6?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, motion by Doug,
I'll second the motion.
second by Jeff. Any discussion? All right, take to a vote. Doug,
Yes.
Dean?
Yep.
Jeff,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
and Greg is a yes. Okay,
Thank you, Greg. The second item I have this evening is a request to be considered by the RDC, and it's typed in the agenda as follows. Would the RDC support appropriating funds from the rail park allocation area to the Seahawk allocation area to reimburse the Seahawk allocation area for a portion of the public infrastructure improvements that are physically connected to the rail park allocation area. Mike, if that isn't clear enough,
I'll be happy to fill in from. If you recall, when we first set up the Seahawk bond, which is what built the MJB Wood facility. At the time, the developer wanted to include some lots that were not yet developed. Specifically, they're developed now with Smith Ready Mix and Great Lakes. Great Lakes, their new siding, rail siding in that facility. So those weren't ready to go. So at the time, Baker Tilly said it would not be smart to include those lots along with the two that are being used now to repay that bond. So the developers come back and said, would we consider allocating some of the TIF revenue from these two developed lots towards paying off the bond? The benefit for the developers, the bond gets paid off quicker. The benefit for us is we get full TIF revenue once that's done. The other benefit, frankly, this developer's been very friendly to the town. It's the same developer that will be building streets, building our new street, part of our new bypass as well. So we worked together well in the past. So I think that's a positive. The challenge, though, for us as we've talked, is we're not exactly sure what kind of demands we'll have on our TIF districts. So I think what Baker Tilly is indicating, if you're open to doing this, that we'll bring specific appropriations as we can afford and pay that into the other towards the bond. So if we have adequate monies, then we'll transfer those monies to the other TIF bond repayment. Okay, Kathy's looking at me.
maybe just to make a clarifying point, the payment, the allocation of that is a reimbursement to the allocation area and not a payment on the bond.
Correct, yes.
So it's
Basically a transfer of funds.
yes,
From one fund to another.
correct.
One, yeah,
That's
that's,
correct.
okay, that's what I was looking at.
Yeah. So if you're okay with the concept, then once we get into the first of next year, we'll bring an appropriation if we have the funds to do that.
Hey, Mike, is that where we're getting our fire protection money from?
No, that's from the TIF up north.
Okay, we're not using south.
Not yet.
No,
So to the extent that there's a specific allocation that the commission would like to approve, that can be done via a voice vote or,
Appropriated, we'll have a specific appropriation with a specific amount, and then I could show you the cash flows and why that might be justified. I'd rather do that than set up, say, well, we'll just give you 80% of the TIF that we get in. I don't think it's very smart for us.
We don't have it.
well, you never know how much you're gonna get from TIF.
We have a pretty good idea right now.
We have an idea. Oh, you don't know.
Yeah, Baker Tilly gives us forecast something every year.
So we're just asking for the concept. If you like the concept, then we'll come back in January with specific.
Anyone opposed to the concept? Move forward?
No.
We're just transferring money from one fund to the other.
Okay, then I'll let the developer know that. And we'll be looking at something in January.
Okay.
Next item is mine as well. Jeff, I've got some photos. We have within the budget, we've allocated some money from the TIF for the purchase of properties on Main Street and for the cleanup of the properties. What I'm looking for is approval from you folks to spend up to maybe $40,000 on this particular project. The reason this qualifies is it will be part of our water main improvement project. So what you see is obviously the front of the Opera House. I have some concerns about what's going to happen to that porch. With NDOT has plans to demolish up to about the yellow line. The yellow line is actually a gas line located, but that's about where NDOT plans to make a saw cut and then demolish stuff. We will, there's another picture. What we're doing is we'll be pulling up that concrete in between those two poles. And in addition, as part of the NDOT project, we'll be finishing the concrete between the poles or where they stop and up to the building. somewhere under that cement, I've been told, is there's a basement entrance to an old barber shop. So we have something like a vault underneath there. In my mind, this is adding up to a major, I'm seeing that porch just fall to the ground when we start doing excavation work up there. So I've talked to the Opera House, Dave, and they would actually like to replace that. If you go back to the other picture now, Jeff, there's some benefits to replacing that. We'd like to see those poles line up with the street light, which you can almost see in the picture now. That adds more space, and it's actually more appropriate space to meet standards for wheelchairs and people walking. That's a little too narrow. So if we move those posts with a new porch out to line up with the street lights, that'll make that a nicer walkable area.
So that old entrance to the barber shop, will that be filled in? Will it be utilized? What's the,
We have to fill it in or something. Nobody knows for sure what's there. It's just something was there. That one of those things,
They come up with negotiation there when they were doing that revitalization.
so I'm not sure how many more of those we'll find, but I'm setting aside some money to be prepared.
So the Opera House is planning on redoing the porch anyway.
Well, they'd like to. So I'm looking at some sort of a public-private partnership between the two of us. The Community Foundation is willing to put up to 20,000 toward this, to help the Opera House out. So I'm not exactly sure how Alex will let me negotiate this. What I'm thinking is that we will put some money towards demolition of that overhang through the construction period. So we get our construction done and then we rebuild the cement. And we actually put pedestals for those posts. They should not be sitting on the concrete. I'm not sure why somebody has to actually jump curb and hit one of them. And then the Opera House will be responsible for the reconstruction then. So that's what I'm looking at doing. And if you like that idea, I'd like a permission from you to use some of the funds that were for property acquisition and cleanup to use that towards this project. It fits the purpose of it.
Yeah.
I know those are wooden poles and they've been replaced several times. I know that.
Yeah, there used to be 6 in there, I think, maybe from the old place.
All right, so you need a vote or to just,
I think an official vote for.
That was just for next year.
Yeah, the 20 to 40 that you mentioned, where do we have that?
We have a couple $100,000 budgeted for property acquisition and cleanup for the site. So it'd be used from those funds.
Now, is this with state highway project or with our water main project?
Oh. So the demolition needs to happen this soon. Because our water project will be putting new service laterals. Yes, right there. So we'll be tearing up parts of Main Street this fall yet. So the demolition needs to happen sooner. What we don't want is some accident to happen and that thing just fall. Then we've got more damage and more parts.
so are they gonna take the porch off altogether to start with?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what Dave and I have talked about doing, and then we'll decide when to rebuild that. Do we rebuild it after we're done, this fall, or do we wait till NDOT's complete at some point next year?
Yeah, okay.
But the Opera House is gonna rebuild it.
Yes. We'll do the concrete work and create the pedestals for the post, and the other part will be the Opera House and the Community Foundation.
okay, well, I guess take a vote and.
We need a motion.
I think it'd be the important part here, I think, is the motion to approve the expenditure of that amount, and then Mike and I can coordinate how that needs to be done, but we can't do it without the approval to set aside that amount of money.
Okay,
So I need to approve the expenditure up to 40, you think that's the
Yes.
number? So to approve the expenditure up to 40 in relation to the Bristol Opera House facade project.
okay, so we have a motion to approve up to $40,000 for the Bristol Opera House facade project.
We'll make a motion that we approve the $40,000 expenditure for the Bristol Opera House water main demolition facade project.
Motion by Jeff, second by Dean. Any discussion? All right, take the vote. Doug?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes,
And Greg is a yes.
Okay, the second part of this discussion is, are you interested in considering a facade grant program that we could utilize for other storefronts, businesses along Main Street? So it was the RDC would put up a certain amount of money, tip money, that would be matched by the businesses or community foundation if they saw a grant. If that's something you're interested in, then we'll bring back the program.
isn't there a facade standard set by the state since it's on a state highway?
I have no idea.
I think so.
But some of this is just a matter of, you know, freshening up the buildings or new entrance, something, take advantage of the new Main Street.
When they did the, JD Edwards, not JD Edwards, is it? Yeah, JD Edwards down.
Edwards Joe.
Edward Jones, okay, sorry. That when they did that, there was a facade issue with the state. It all had to be approved through the state because it's on a state highway. So
Really?
that might be something we need to look
Yeah,
at.
I will do that. So I guess the question here though is, are you interested in that sort of grant program to be transferring some tip monies into our downtown area? Just New York.
I'm definitely in favor of it.
Would that help with the ADA compliant too, for some of the stores that don't have it?
Oh, good thought. Might,
There's a few along there that doesn't, they're not ADA compliant.
good thought.
To that point, are there grant dollars available from the state for that very purpose? And I guess something we need to investigate to see, especially when it comes to ADA compliance.
Mhm.
If there are federal or state or federal funds available, that would be,
I'll get my grant writer right on that reason. So,
yeah,
no, I think we should check that out.
yeah, absolutely.
Most likely there is.
We can use grant dollars to help rebuild the downtown
Talk to my friendly state senator, see what he can do for me.
area. Yeah, you know where he is tonight?
Yeah.
Not anymore, yes, Linda Rogers, I'm just a sound joint.
Oh, that's right.
Thanks, Blake.
Long district.
So you're gonna check on that, if there's a facade issue too.
Right, we'll do all that. If you're interested in the concept, we'll bring back a full-fledged plan. Okay,
I would say yes, I would.
right.
Yeah.
And that's it for my.
Okay, discussion items. Doug, you have anything?
Nope.
Dean?
Nope.
Jeff?
No.
Kathy?
No,
Yeah, I don't have anything. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll
Make a
make that motion.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Okay. Pause for just a couple minutes, let Kathy get.
Leave
Very-
it
Hey, do you wanna, how many more seats do we have up there, Dustin? Are there? Okay. So for folks out in the hallway, if you wanna come through the room here, there's more seating upstairs. We have a live stream of the meeting going on up there, so you can hear and see everything going on in this room upstairs in the old council chamber. So if you wanna file through and take a seat upstairs, you're more than welcome to do that. I'm not sure how many chairs we have up there, but
Not that many. No.
I don't think there's that many, but we'll see. Yeah.
Ready when you are, Jeff.
There is standing room up there as well, so. Okay, so we will move on to our next meeting, which is the regular town council meeting. And today is Thursday, September 5th, 2024, it is 7:04 PM. And we will call this meeting of the Bristol Town Council to order. And first item on the agenda is to do our pledge of allegiance. So, Steve, will you lead us tonight?
I pledge allegiance to the flag
United States and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Red one, the roll call. Start off to my left, Doug Smith. Here. Dean Renfro. Here. Kathy Burke.
Here.
Greg Dolsky.
Here.
On my right, Clerk Treasurer Kathy Antonelli.
Here.
Town Manager Mike Yoder. Here. Legal Counsel Alex Bowman. Here. Town Marshal Steve Bring. Here. And I take over in the other side room, Fire Chief Nick Hance. I'm sure he's up there, so. Okay. All right. Has everybody had a chance to review the agenda?
Yes.
Yes.
Are there any additions, corrections, or changes that need to happen to the agenda?
No.
If not, the agenda will stand as published. So just a quick housekeeping discussion here before we move on to the invoices in a minute. So obviously it's a packed house tonight. So I assume a lot of you folks are here to talk about the data center. So I just want to let you know that that will be coming up under item number 7 on the agenda. So right here is where we will talk about that. The way we're going to do this is we're going to open up a public hearing, and we're going to start off with a presentation from Tim to talk about the data center. And when we get to that point, we're going to let Tim give his presentation. We're not going to have any discussion at that point. Once Tim gets through that, then we're going to open it up for public comment, either for or against. So that's kind of the way it's going to work. We will have, when we do get to the public comment section, we're going to have 3 minutes. We're going to have people come up and state your name, your address. You'll be given 3 minutes to state your case for or against, or you can just, if you want to say the preamble of the Constitution, you can do that too. We have 3 minutes to say what you want to say. Alex, next, our legal counsel here, he's going to be our timekeeper, and he's going to hold up a yellow card at 2 minutes, and then he's going to hold up a red card at 3 minutes. So once we get into that, I'll reiterate this again when we start the public comment section. But just wanted to let everybody know that's going to be the process. So with that, we will continue on with our agenda. So item number 5 on the agenda was the approval of the invoices. So everybody had a chance to look at the bills from last month.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, any questions on the bills?
Nope.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the invoices?
I make a motion, we approve the invoices.
Okay, motion by Kathy,
I'll second.
second by Greg. Open for discussion? No further discussion, we'll take a vote. Doug Smith,
Yes.
Dean Renfro,
Yes.
Kathy Burke,
Yes.
Greg Dolsky,
Yes.
and Jeff Beach is a yes. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, approval of the minutes. So we have meeting minutes from a special meeting and executive session on July 8th, an executive session on July 9th, regular town council meeting on July 18th, and August 1st. Everyone had a chance to review those minutes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, any questions regarding those minutes? If not, is there a motion to approve all of those minutes?
I make a motion.
Okay, motion by Dean,
I'll second.
second by Doug. Open for discussion. No further discussion, we'll take a vote. Doug Smith,
Yes.
Dean Renfro,
Yes.
Kathy Burke,
Yes.
Greg Dolsky,
Yes.
and Jeff Beach is a yes. Okay. Do that. All right, so let's get into the next item on the agenda, which is planning and development items.
You want to hear full staff first?
Yes, please. Yes. Yep. So.
Sam Richard, Delaware County Planning Department. This is for the map change from A1 to M1. Location is on the north side of County Road 23, 1,875 feet north of County Road 14 in Washington Township. This comes to you with an unanimous approval vote from the Plan Commission. There were some concerns at that meeting. Some of those concerns were property access only being off of State Road 120, number of employees during construction and daily operations, noise from the construction activities, generators, air conditioners, units, and equipment cooling systems. Also site lighting, site landscaping, buffering, water and electricity usage, ownership of the property, and who will own the data center business. That's another note from the planning commission. They did recommend approval, including a condition that this only be for a data center. So if it was zoned to M1, nothing else could be built except a data center, unless they came back for some, approval. Staff is also in support of this. And like you said, they're here to give a lot more information.
Okay, thanks, Daniel.
Thanks.
All right, so with that, again, just to reiterate what I talked about just a couple minutes ago, we're gonna have a representative from the data center here. He's going to give a presentation for everybody to hear and see. And once we get through that presentation, then we're going to open up to questions. You can ask questions of the council, you can ask questions of the representative from the data center, and we will do our best to answer those questions. I do wanna just talk through this process a little bit. Just so everybody knows, the petition to have this rezoned has been brought to us by the current property owner, correct? Okay, this is not something that the Bristol Town Council or the town of Bristol is bringing to you. This is the property owner, which is the Wilhelm Living Trust. They've asked for this property to be rezoned. The town of Bristol is not selling this property. We're not in the business of buying and selling property. So this again is being offered up for sale by the property owners. So this is again being brought to the Elkhart County Planning Commission and then ultimately to the town of Bristol, because the property in question does fall within the town limits of Bristol. So again, just to reiterate, the petition to rezone this property and the potential sale of this property comes directly from the current owners of the property. So with that said, I'll introduce Tim. And Tim, if you want to state your name.
Jeff,
tell
can you put your microphone closer? They cannot hear upstairs.
Okay. So I'll introduce Tim, and Tim, I'm gonna turn my presentation over to you, so you have the screens.
Okay, great. Thank you. Can everybody hear me? Okay,
In the upstairs.
great. Tim Ram on behalf of the applicant. We're excited to be here this evening. As the staff member indicated, we did go to the Elkhart Planning Commission last month and made our case for the rezone approval. They did approve it unanimously, and I'm happy to hear that staff is recommending approval here this evening. So what we'd like to do is give a presentation here, and then we're certainly available to answer questions. And with that, I'll get going. Our firm, Province Group, has been in business for over 33 years. We're a principal-driven company, which means that the principal works on every single project that we're involved with. He's here this evening and is an integral part of the team. You'll be hearing from him tonight. We're a well-capitalized firm, certainly capable of undertaking this investment and excited about it. There are a lot of gray hairs at the company. We have a lot of experience in the development business, including with a civil engineer on staff. The most important part of this slide probably is this bullet point that we always hire what we think are best in class consultants. We're always intent on executing high quality developments, and that starts with the consultant team, the professional engineers and planners, and the team that's involved is always very important to us. Ken Jones with GAPR is an integral member of that team and here this evening. And we'll talk a little bit more about Gensler, the architect that's involved. We're doing multiple of these data center projects and have expertise in the field. So this aerial shows the site, 247 acres. You can see it's bookended by the industrial to both the east and the west. The aerial is actually a little bit dated. There's another large industrial building that's been completed already off of Rail Park, and it's natural that industrial is going to fill in here as part of the comprehensive plan vision, and there's existing zoning that will show that also is designated for a similar compatible use. This is a closer image of the 247 acres, CR 23 on the south. You can see some of the industrial on the upper right-hand corner. Again, the building that's built that is on the top left. It just looks like site work here in this image. That's Rail Park Avenue. We'll be taking access from that. And as the slide indicates, the property is already annexed into the town of Bristol. So the snippet from your comp plan showing the site in the lower left is Employment Center. That comprehensive plan is fairly recently adopted, and the goal of the Employment Center is to diversify industry sectors to enhance resiliency. That's language out of the comprehensive plan, and this use certainly does that. So we think it helps to fulfill the vision of the comprehensive plan. The zoning map here shows the subject property on the lower left. We've requested an M1 zoning, which is less intense than M2. The M2 zoning is immediately adjacent to us to the north. You can see the other gray area is largely M2 and M1 zoning. So it seems to be a compatible zoning designation that we've requested here. So we showed this slide also. The plan is for a data center campus, and most of you probably know what that is by now, but I'll just spend a minute to talk about it. For us, it's a series of buildings, either 1 or 2 stories, concrete or steel frame, that have very sophisticated building systems for air filtration, fire suppression, cooling, climate control, et cetera, to house information technology, infrastructure, computers, processors, and equipment that really deliver software and applications that we're all using. I'm going to hold up my prop. All of the applications and things that are on your phone, the cloud, Instagram, Facebook, online banking, online healthcare, credit card transactions, all run through these data centers. So modern society really does run on data centers. So our development plan for the site is approximately 800,000 to 1.2 million square feet. As I indicated, it would be a single-story campus, and it wouldn't be one large industrial building. It would be a series of buildings, a campus. We would take access from Rail Park Drive, which is to the north, so trying to keep traffic off of CR 23. It's not the most direct route to the site, and it also helps to be a good neighbor and not put traffic down there. As staff indicated, we would limit the use, the M1 use, to a data center, so you know what you're getting, and not some other M1 or M2 type of a use. You know what this is going to be. And we would also use municipal water and sewer. So we would hook up to the town services. They are nearby and available and of sufficient capacity the way they exist now. So that would be a part of our plan. And the capital investment here is significant into the town of Bristol. It would be approximately $1 billion for 1 million square feet of development. It's a significant capital investment that does create good quality jobs, approximately 125 to 150 of them when the project is built out, and we expect that to occur over approximately a 5 to 7 year period. So just a little bit more information about the architectural firm that's working on this property with us. They are the largest firm in the world, Gensler. They're founded in the 60s. They've done literally millions and millions of square feet of these critical facilities. They have a huge staff that specializes in this. We're working with a couple of great architects that I like a lot, that are really sharp folks and additive to the process. And they've done this across 5 continents, so certainly capable. this slide shows some sample imagery. And what you notice here is they're good-looking buildings, they're high-quality Class A warehouse-type buildings. But here, what you don't see is a series of truck bays and doors on the side of the building. These are not truck terminals or warehouses moving goods and services in and out. You just don't get the truck trips and traffic like you would with the typical warehouse or industrial building. And I would call your attention to that lower right image, which shows several buildings. Again, it's not one large one. It's intended to be more of a campus with probably 250,000 to 300,000 buildings, which I think you have quite a few of here.
Hey, Tim, I don't mean to interrupt. You speak in the mic, but they can't hear you.
Sure. Sorry.
Yeah, if you can just go there, if you can pull that closer to you. There you go.
Okay. So this is I think an important slide. A lot of jurisdictions find that these data centers are the single best real estate use that they could ask for because they're very low impact, but very impactful in terms of the fiscal side of things. So what they really don't do is create much vehicular or truck traffic. Most people are concerned about that with all of these projects, and compared to other uses in the M1 or M2 district, very limited truck and vehicle trips. They don't impact schools or parks, and the same really is true of police, fire, and emergency services. But what they do is create, because of the size and scale of the investment, a significant positive economic impact for the local jurisdictions. They do provide high quality jobs in the data center when it's constructed. In terms of the information technology jobs, there are a variety of them, from data scientists all the way down to the facility management folks and across the board. So they're good quality jobs within the campus once it's constructed. And then because they are sophisticated buildings, they're high quality construction jobs. And it's a large construction project, so that's a positive aspect of it. And as I've indicated, they enhance modern living. So there was some concern certainly about the noise coming out of this. I would say it was maybe the chief concern that we heard at the planning commission. So and a lot of that was associated with generators. So we included this slide to show that the generators will be housed in an enclosure, and that will help with sound attenuation. They won't be sitting out. And so the housing helps with the sound attenuation. The mufflers will have exhausts. We can use noise deadening materials within the enclosure to help with the sound. The equipment selection itself is a meaningful part of the process. Some generators are louder than others. So that's certainly part of the sound attenuation. And then the other side of it is within the testing of these generators. The industry standard is about 30 minutes per month, and it's moving towards 10 minutes per month. And we can certainly test those during the week, not weekends, and do it during a 7 to 7 period so that it's not late at night and intrusive. So there are certainly ways to attenuate the sound that comes out of these. One of the other concerns was related to the climate control system, and the sound that's related with that can also be attenuated in a variety of ways. Also, equipment selection, the shielding of the equipment with louvers and behind physical barriers, the orientation. The site is pretty large, 247 acres, so there will also be physical separation from the neighbors, which is important. Sound does dissipate over distance. And then there are additional physical measures that we can undertake in terms of buffers and setbacks and berms to help deal with the concern over noise. This slide shows that $311 million in 2023 property tax revenue. A significant capital investment such as this, $1 billion investment, would contribute approximately $23 million to that. This shows the pie chart shows where the monies are spent and go. So there'll certainly be beneficiaries here as a result of this new important development. So wrapping up, we did receive unanimous approval of the Plan Commission, which we appreciate. It is a significant capital investment into the town of Bristol. And there will be significant real estate tax revenues associated with it. It does comply with the comprehensive plan, which is one of the reasons that we selected the site. We do pay attention to those types of things when we're doing land acquisition. It certainly diversifies the employment base, which is one of the goals of the comprehensive plan to bring high quality technology jobs. As I indicated, well-paying construction jobs over the build out of the campus. Everybody is always concerned about traffic. It is a very low traffic generator compared to other types of industrial uses, so that's a benefit. We have indicated we'll take access from the north, which I think is going to be important to our neighbors, not CR 23. And then we will limit the use to a data center campus, so you know exactly what you're getting. That's the presentation. We hope that you will support us this evening. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Tim. Okay, so I think I failed one step, Alex. I think I forgot to open the public hearing.
You made a comment to that effect, but
Okay.
If it's for clarity of the record, I think we can say that the discussion so far, what's been presented by staff and by Tim is pertains to what's before the council tonight on first reading is ordinance number BR 95/2024-22, which is entitled an ordinance to amend ordinance number PC 2024-04, known as the Elkhart County Development Ordinance, by rezoning the area of real estate hereinafter described from A1 to M1. So that's the item of business to which the comments thus far apply.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so at this point, we will. And this is our ordinance right here.
You want to shift your video.
Oh, yeah, that would help.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, so this is the ordinance in question. All right, so at this point, I'm going to open up the podium to public comment. Like I said, there's a lot of people. I think there's a lot of people who want to speak. So we would ask that you try and limit your questions or your comments to 3 minutes. If you need to come back up, we can do that. One thing I would ask is, I know there's a lot of people that have the same questions. So if someone gets up and one of your concerns is noise, if John gets up there and talks about the noise and asks his questions, if you have the same question, I would just ask that you not get up and ask the same question again. We're going to answer those questions as best we can. If you have different questions, obviously, we're definitely welcome to that. We want to hear everybody's questions, concerns, comments, whether you're for this or against this. So with that said, I'm going to open up the microphone, and when you ask your questions, either Tim or one of the council members here, I think we can answer some of those questions, or possibly Mike, if there's questions that are concerning around the town. So with that, I will open up the microphone. I would just ask people.
You want to invite the people?
Yeah, and for the people that are upstairs in the room, you are welcome to come down as well. We'll have you form a line outside the door, and then we'll have you file in as space becomes available. So, okay.
Hi, my name is Erica. My family has lived at 55243 County Road 14 here in Bristol for 50 years. We have 5 generations that have and still are trying to enjoy the type of life my parents intended for themselves and our family. However, for the past 5 to 6 years, we have suffered a continuous decline in our quality of life. We have watched farmland and unobstructed views all the way to State Road 120 become blocked with giant monstrosities across the field. These businesses have not only taken valuable farmland, which benefits everyone and everything by food production for humans and or animals, after providing habitat, but also is considered, to me, urban sprawl, which I thought we had laws in place to prevent that already, not be circumvented. They've already decreased the amount of animals that my family has harvested for decades to feed ourselves. Our electric bills increased significantly, and the sheer amount of traffic via County Road 23, 214, and over to US 20 has increased significantly, as well as emissions from that. Thus, has made it damn near impossible to sit on the porch and have a conversation due to the noise. It's unsafe to ride bikes or walk our dogs. Now you want to approve a data center, more urban sprawl, and gobble up 260 more acres of land, when in 2022, they were responsible for 4% of all carbon emissions globally. Data centers alone are the second largest contributor to greenhouse gas emissions worldwide, 61% of which comes from the electricity emissions from their cooling systems, which run 24/7. Their noise pollution is at a ridiculous 85 plus decibels inside. What's that outside? And no one has really in-depthly looked at their EMS, which probably also possess serious negative health problems. Air quality suffers, our water table will suffer, and who knows what's going on into our groundwater. There isn't any real data on so many things. States see dollar signs, circumvent laws against this very thing, and give the thumbs up before anything can be done through legislation. Some states are even trying to get data centers exempt from environmentally scrutiny. Where does it stop? When is enough enough? What are we gonna do, people? What are we leaving behind? Concrete, emissions, gray and brown landscapes? I'm not afraid to say stop. People not only here, but across our country are sick of this. Hardworking people who buy their property for a certain lifestyle, and it's being obstructed. There's buildings that are already vacant. Why aren't you using those? Why are you going to farmland, agricultural land? Why is it allowed? What wooded land is gonna be left? What green hills? Colorado rivers are dried up, man. I have grandchildren. What are we leaving them? A bunch of brown? I want to leave more than that, don't you? For your grandchildren and their grandchildren and so forth. When does it stop? I say vote no. Enough's enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Erica.
Yes.
Question is, how many servers are expected? Has anybody checked that?
Oh, sir, can you state your name and address, please?
I'm sorry, Ryan Rogers, 55435, County Road 14. And I have other properties in the town of Bristol. And I don't know if you're aware, the more servers, the more megawatts of electricity, the more water it takes to cool it down. For instance, Google uses 250 gallons per megawatt hours. And on average, this is even with recycling, 300,000 gallons a day to cool us. I don't know where they think they're gonna get all that water other than out of the ground. As well, since Google's been in production, they put in 14.3 megatons of carbon dioxide into the air, which I could care less, but Google has 900,000 servers. Amazon has 1.5 million servers. Microsoft has 4 million servers. Facebook only has 30,000. But my questions are, where do you get the water from? Where do you get the electric? NIPSCO was about out of Woolwich not too while back. They had to run new lines. I don't know where they're gonna get the rest. That's all.
The water was not going to be from wells, it would be from town water,
Pardon?
town water
Yep.
services.
That-
It wasn't from a
I
well.
understand.
Well, let's- okay.
Water out of the ground.
So, just a point of order. Tim, do you mind if, as we get through some of these questions, can you address, are you okay with addressing some of these questions?
Sure.
Okay,
Either Mark Grizzly or I will do that.
okay, yeah, either one. So, let's get some of these questions answered as they're addressed. So Mark, if you wanna.
Sure, appreciate. Thank you, Council President Mark Kerslake, 26 Corporate Plaza. Good evening, council members, staff, and members of the public. Happy to be here. You'd like us to address
Yeah, so
as we go?
yep, so we've heard some questions about, the groundwater, the number of servers, the cooling of that, and, you know, where's the water supply coming from? How long do your cooling units run and so forth, so.
Well, first off, thank you. This will be an air-cooled data center, right? Older generations of data center did use tremendous amounts of water. The cooling systems have migrated over the years. A data center of today is not much like a data center of even several years ago as the cooling systems have evolved. So we get it down now to, it's very similar to an industrial or manufacturing type of use. So for a facility of this scale, the order of magnitude would be more like 100,000 gallons per day. And in the preliminary dialogue we've had, that capacity is available. As Councilmember mentioned, we're not going to be drilling any wells on site. It would be municipal, you know, through the town water system. There's a 12-inch line, actually water and sewer 12-inch lines in Rail Park and Earthway. So there's the lines are nearby and the capacity does exist. So it's an evolution of the cooling system over time to use much less water. What happens to the waste? Your water, sewer. Yeah, we estimate about 100,000 gallons a day of water. Of that, yet you do have evaporation. The estimated sewer discharge is 70,000 gallons per day, which we've also determined you have that capacity exists. Several lift stations have recently been upgraded. We've had preliminary dialogue with the town manager and with Ken Jones of JPR about the utility capacities, and we can work easily within the capacities that the town has.
Okay. Can I call on you to kind of talk through, the 1,000 gallons of water use a day and the 70,000 of discharge? Can you kind of talk through that?
Yeah, as council knows, and maybe some of the folks that are attending tonight, the town is in the process of doing a major upgrade to the town's water system and the wastewater system. And that's not being driven, by the way, by this project. This was developed long before this project was known. But the improvements to the water system are designed to mostly accommodate everything that has happened in Bristol over the last several years. We're playing catch up from probably a 30-year delay and keeping up with the water system. So when we're done, the capabilities of the water system will be very significantly improved. We're going to have a 1 million gallon elevated water storage tank. We've never had that before. The little one's going to go away. All of the water supply wells will be upgraded. We're going to add an additional well in the well field and activate at a higher level the existing well that's on the north side of the Little Elkhart River. So we've also been working before this project to build out the municipal water system infrastructure that's in the ground. And in the past, the town has gotten by with small diameter water mains that were common years ago, 6-inch, 8-inch. And as you know, the town is bifurcated by the river, and none of those pipes were connected back to one another, which creates a reliability issue. So within the Rail Park project, we built a 12-inch transmission water main all the way out and across to State Route 120, then all the way back into town. In this project, we're developing a closing loop connection on the east side of town from the north industrial park to the south industrial park. And then we're also closing the loop across the river from about the County Road 21 alignment south across the river to connect back into the transmission main that's in State Route 120. So the water system will has never been as strong as it's going to be at the end of next year. The town is also taking dramatic steps in improving the wastewater system, which has been long overdue, including a significant investment in the town's wastewater treatment system at the treatment complex on State Route 120, and in addition to that, making several upgrades to lift stations. Again, none of this has been driven by this particular project. It was planned before this project was known. And the usage that we're hearing, the demand that we're hearing coming from these buildings is actually, we would find to be a little bit less than what we would see from the average RV factory. So we can handle that all day long and with no problems, no impact. The one good thing is we will have an additional ratepayer, so we need that. So, yeah. So anyway, the town's gonna be in good shape utility wise going forward.
Okay, so the 100,000 gallon a day of water consumption and the 70,000 gallon of discharge into the sewage system wouldn't,
No problem whatsoever.
wouldn't impact our system.
What happens if there's more than that? Do they get fined?
They pay more. If they use more water, they pay more.
You guys?
They pay the town, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like every person who has a water connection to
We
the
have well
town.
water, that's what I'm worried about, contaminants.
So the
And who
The-
governs that?
the discharge, if you're in the county and you have a well, the discharge wouldn't impact you. Because the water would be discharged to the wastewater treatment plant here in Bristol. It wouldn't go down in the ground.
Yeah, but by the time it gets to the river, after it goes through the treatment process, by the time it gets to the river, the level of treatment is near drinking water standard by the time it's discharged back into the river. That's a requirement of the state, federal government. The water withdrawal itself is so minor compared to what's available in this aquifer. The town has a benefit of being located immediately within what's called the St. Joseph River Aquifer. It's a federally protected resource that stretches from Indiana into Michigan, back into Indiana and back into Michigan, all the way to Lake Michigan.
None of us can hear you out here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Apologize. So it is one of the most prolific water sources in the Midwest. And many of our communities, much larger than Bristol, take their water resource from the aquifer. And it is constantly being replenished every day. So we're in good shape in Bristol when it comes to taking care of this business and others. So,
Okay, thank you, Ken. I'm gonna call it audible here. Craig Bailey, can I ask you a question? You farm, correct?
Yeah.
Do you have pivots in your fields?
Yeah.
If you run your pivot for 24 hours, how much water does that pivot pull?
A lot.
Can you give us,
I can.
and is it more than 100,000 gallons?
Wow.
Okay, so if you ran your field pivot for 24 hours, is it safe to say it might pull 500,000 gallons?
It pulls 1,000 gallons a minute.
Okay, so 1,000 gallons a minute, I'm not real good at math, 1,000 gallons a minute,
Look at the wrong guys.
60 minutes, that's
60,000.
60,000
That's
an hour.
An hour is 120.
But that's a 24-hour day.
Well, if-
Year round.
But if a farmer is running a pivot for 24 hours a day, which there are times where they have to, a farmer may be pulling more water than what.
Not year round, though.
And he feeds us.
Yeah.
That's big difference.
Okay, so just to kind of put it in perspective, so.
There you go, and that's not putting it in perspective, because it goes right back where it came. And it's not.
Cause he said near drinkable, near. I'm concerned about that word near. Hi, my name's Rebecca Yater, 16577 County Road 14. I live in the Bermuda Triangle. They have a Goshen address and Middlebury phone number, and I can spit on County Road 27. So, I live on Dog Lake. I'm very concerned about the water. Federally protected, let's keep it federally protected, not for a data center. Are there tax abatements? Are there tax incentives? If the company is so well capitalized, why would you be asking for tax abatements or tax incentives? We have families here that have been in this community for 80 years. Give them some tax incentives, give them some tax abatements. But instead, Google, Facebook, the alphabet soup, they make enough money. Why are they asking for tax abatements? If they really want to be here, they should want to contribute everything to this community, not be asking for what they can get from the state or from the federal government or from our local town. It says enhance resiliency at the expense of natural resources. If we deplete our natural resources, there will be no resiliency. And if you don't cap their water usage, if they go over, so they pay more. Well, some days a rainy day comes. I am worried about the water. I haven't had any trouble doing any of the things on the internet with the data centers so far. I actually have New Paris fiber ran right to my house, and I've been able to do all my banking and all that. Really don't want a data center here in Bristol, where a crow flies 2 miles from my house. High quality. I'm wondering what the pay range is. We can say jobs are high quality. It reminds me of the apartments in Middlebury where they said that affordable rent for an apartment was $1,700 to $2,200 a month. That's not affordable. So, I'd love to see what the pay range is for those high quality jobs. You say there's a low impact vehicular truck traffic. It's because there's no actual goods. There's no real tangible goods being produced. And when there isn't, you are the product. Yeah. You are the good. Are you tired of having everything you think, say, or do recorded and sold to people you don't even know, people on the dark web, people in China? You guys have lived here for a long time. You have children and grandchildren. I have children. I'm going to have grandchildren. No, we are a small town of Bristol, and enough to Google, enough to Facebook, enough to Amazon. When is enough? If we don't stand up now, it will be too late. And I think deep down, you all know that. They will impact the police and fire if certain situations arise. I don't even know how they can put that in their presentation. You have a fire, you have a break-in, they're going to meet those resources. Health concerns, really concerned about that. We know just holding this to our head. Now multiply that by how many servers? We can just choose to overlook that. Does this comprehensive plan that I'm hearing about include protecting farmland? Because do you want to eat insects? Do you want to eat lab-grown meat? Mark Zuckerberg is feeding his cows that he owns macadamia nuts, so the meat's softer. Go look it up. That's not a lie. They will eat well. You won't. Thank you.
Amen.
Bob Barnes, I'm a county commissioner in Elkhart. And I love being a county commissioner for this county. I have concerns about the tax incentives. This presentation was informative, just scratching the surface. Data center sales tax exemption, Indiana Economic Development Corporation. Description: the data center gross retail and use tax exemption provides a sales and use tax exemption on purchases of qualified data center equipment and energy to operators of a qualified data center for a period not to exceed 25 years for data center investments less than 750 million. He said this is going to be over a billion plus. If the investment exceeds 750 million, the EDC may award an exemption for up to 50 years. This program is established by Indiana Code 6-2.5-15. Local governments, which that's you guys, may also provide personal property tax exemption on qualified enterprise information and technology equipment to the owners of the data center to invest at least 25 million in real and personal property in this facility. They're going to match that. They're going to meet that. Eligibility. To qualify for these exemptions, data centers must reach a certain threshold for investment within 5 years of receiving an exemption certificate from the Department of Revenue. The minimum investment required is determined by the population of the county in which the qualified data center is located. I'm just gonna skip to it. 150 million in counties with 100,000 or more people. That's Elkhart County. Equipment that is eligible for the exemption includes the servers and related computer equipment or software purchased or leased for processing, storage, retrieval, or communication of data, as well as other equipment essential to the operation of the data center. This includes electricity used in the qualified data center operations. Prior to qualifying for exemptions, the IEDC must approve all planned data center equipment purchases. Evaluation criteria. Each project will be evaluated on its individual merits and will undergo a cost benefit analysis. Application and tax exemption data centers are required to apply to the IEDC for a specific transaction award certificate. After applying to the IEDC for a specific transaction award certificate, the Indiana Department of Revenue will issue the data center proof of tax exempt status. The data center exempt status applies for up to 25 or 50 years, depending on the amount of investment the data center commits. So according to this gentleman here, his data center is going to get a 50-year tax exemption. Okay, on personal property and sales tax on everything he purchases in there. Upon reporting requirements, upon execution of data center sales tax exemption contract with the IEDC, qualified data center operators are required to report for every calendar year during the term of the contract. Information required: summary statistics relating to the qualified expenditures that occurred in the applicable year. Detailed line item report of eligible expenditures and how much tax was not paid as a result of the exemption, verified by an independent third party. So I'm not gonna say I'm for this thing, and I'm not saying I'm against it, but I'm against Indiana appointing, our governor appointing non-elected bureaucrats, taking charge of our tax dollars and giving it to people like this guy's that he wants to build for. That's not right, man. Nope. I got businesses over here in Elkhart County, right here in this town, that are having a hard time purchasing good equipment to put out a better product because of the tax problem we have here. And on top of that, I spent last Tuesday in Indianapolis on a road funding debacle that they got in Indiana because there's a revenue shortage. And Indiana, NDOT is 2.1 or 2.4 billion short on making sure all the counties can have proper road repair. So I think we need to really look at what we're doing and how we're treating people that are existing in here before we start catering to people that don't care about us. They're only here because of the tax incentives. They're only here because of the resources that we offer, and they're here to take advantage of every person in this town.
Yeah.
Tom Christensen, 102 North Chaptula. My wife owns Bristol Airport. Just have a couple of questions. One, it's quite frequent when companies move in, they promise large employment numbers, but then they end up a lot of times actually bringing their own people in. And I don't know if you can guarantee that you're going to use local talent, or in the case if it's Google, are they just going to bring 150 Google employees in from out of state? That'd be my first question. The next one is, yesterday I bought a beef and cheddar at Arby's, and I was somewhat disappointed because it didn't look like what it was supposed to look like on TV. The meat was halfway off the sandwich, it was about that thick. Things are not always as they seem. And what really bothers me about this thing is Province Group. They're a neutral group. They're a real estate development company, but somebody hired them, and they won't tell us who it is. You've heard the old phrase, buying a pig in the poke. Well, I think that's a very real possibility here. I mean, for all we know, the Chinese could be financing this data center.
Yeah.
And you say, oh, well, that's ridiculous. Well, the Chinese are buying up a lot of land in the US.
An issue.
And the company might say, well, we're not gonna tell you who we are because we don't want to prejudice you against us. Well, if that's the case, maybe they've earned that reputation to be prejudiced against. Now, I don't know, but I tell you, it just bothers me when somebody isn't gonna tell me who they are, and yet they expect me to fork out my tax dollars, my resources. That's really flaky.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, first of all, can you guarantee that the employment is going to be local? Second of all, who is this company? We deserve to know that.
To know.
So Mark or Tim, can you address the questions, please?
Sure. With respect, that's information that we can't share.
Well, there you have.
I can tell you we're not not here on behalf, excuse me, Sherman.
Oh, sure.
I'm sorry.
Come here.
The council members here, but we're not here on behalf of the Chinese government. The industry, like many, is subject to non-disclosure agreements. It's just proprietary. It's no different if you were building an industrial building and you had this great tenant you were building it for. You don't want to advertise who that tenant is. Someone, you have competitors, because you have competitors, and it's a very competitive environment that we deal with. And that's not information that we want to share. What we're asking for tonight, with respect, is a land use decision. Do these folks think that an M1 with a data center limitation is an appropriate land use? It's consistent with the comprehensive plan, which was created well before we came. Can we guarantee the jobs will be local? There will be some percentage of local hiring. There are a number of different positions. Does any company ever guarantee local hiring? That's difficult to do. It goes to the labor force. But what I can tell you, what this project will do is help diversify your labor force. You have a lot of concentration here in manufacturing, RV, boat, automotive components, et cetera. This brings a whole sector of jobs, the high-tech jobs that aren't present here. And if there are layoffs in the RV or the boat industry, which there are often because they're cyclical industries, this gives a more consistent employment base. The state of Virginia did a study, and there are more data centers in Virginia than anywhere else in the country. And that study found that for every one job within a data center, there were 4 jobs created outside of a data center. So we think we'll have about 150 employees in the data center. That creates about 600 jobs outside of the data center. And in addition to that, the trickle down spending, of all those people. And when I hear about scarcity of revenue, we're here to bring revenue. The project, as Tim demonstrated, at the county's 2.3% tax rate, our tax bill will be $23 million a year. If you talk about wanting revenue, this is a gigantic revenue creator with very low impacts. And when you compare it to other uses, such as an Amazon distribution center that's going to have traffic, trucks coming all day long, we have very, very little in the way of vehicular traffic or truck trips. So I wanted to share that. I think fire was a comment. These are very robust, sophisticated buildings. They cost many, many times to build what an industrial building would cost to construct. A typical industrial building is about $100 a foot to build. These buildings are over $1,000 a foot to build. Part of that is a very sophisticated fire suppression system. It uses inert gas, which is argon, which suffocates the fire before it can spread. So, and the facilities are manned 24/7, 365 days a year with facility management people trained in emergency protocols, and they're professionals at what they do, because there will be hundreds of millions of dollars worth of equipment inside of this $1 billion building. The $1 billion, by the way, is just the building. That doesn't count the equipment within it. And with respect to the state subsidies, we're well aware of that. So a lot of people in the room may not like it, but your state legislature made the decision to create incentive programs for data centers. So at least in the judgment of your legislature, data centers are a good thing, and laws were passed to encourage people like us to show up to develop these, at least in their judgment, may not be everyone's judgment, that data centers are a good thing for the state of Indiana. And they wanted to offer programs to attract that use. people like us are here.
So, Mark, just a question on the tax abatement question. So the building is $1 billion. And your equipment inside is much higher than that, correct? The tax incentives that have been dictated by the state only apply to the real property, is that correct?
Person, the other way around. The gentleman spoke of, that just applies to sales tax or use tax for the equipment that goes within the building. So the building itself is taxed at the real property tax rate of 2.3% roughly in Elkhart County. So that's not exempt. And the 23 million that Tim mentioned in his presentation, that's just the real property tax. We didn't even bring up what personal property taxes would be.
Yeah, yeah, just to kind of clarify, and Mike, you know this pretty well too. And I'll let you jump in here, but just so everybody knows, when companies come to Elkhart County, whether it's to Bristol or Elkhart or Goshen, anywhere in the county, when businesses look to locate within Elkhart County, they can request a tax abatement. And there's two components to that tax abatement. One is, as Mark just said, the real property, which is the building. So think of the building that we're sitting in. And then the real, or the personal property, which is the table, the chairs, the computers, all of these things. All of the things that go inside the building, the chairs, everything. So businesses can request an exemption on real estate, the building, and real property, or real or personal property, the contents. In this case, it's mandated by the state, not us. It's not even Elkhart County that mandated this. This is the state government that said, we're authorizing these incentives right now. But it's only on the personal property inside the building. So the $1 billion building that Mark and Tim are talking about, Elkhart County would get $23 million for just that building. And there is no exemption to that. They have to pay that tax. So just to kind of let everybody know how tax abatements work. If you have a question, we'd ask you to step up to the microphone.
Oh. Is that my time to talk, or should that be my time to talk?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, or did you have a question about tax abatement?
Specifically about tax abatement.
Okay, so yeah, question.
So there's county, like the county taxes your personal property and your real estate. And so the state is exempting from, I don't do my taxes, my husband does, I'm sorry. But does the state exempt the county tax on personal property, or they're exempting only state taxes?
It's only the state taxes. Commissioner Barnes was listing a lot of Indiana Economic Development Corporation tax incentives which the company can offer or request. And then the state has also allowed local governments to offer an extended tax abatement on the personal property or the equipment inside. But it's still our decision unless something changed I'm not aware of. So it'd still be our decision on the real estate and the personal property taxes. So, but to make it clear, we have no request for tax abatements right now. I expect we will have some. I mean, we offer tax abatements in this county quite a bit, quite often. So, okay.
Hi, my name is Kayla Freshour. I live at 805 Turtle Drive. I think I live in a wonderful neighborhood, but with the increase of the water bill, it has affected everybody negatively. Now, these aren't lyrical questions I want anybody to answer, but how much has your water bill increased? What are some things you can, or you had to cut back on because of this increase? My monthly food budget is now cut in half. Basic hygiene products are near to impossible to afford for me. I drive 20 miles to school.
Kayla, I'm sorry, I don't want to cut you off, but is it in regard to the data center? Okay, so right now, the public hearing that we're having is just in regard to the data center. We will have public comment towards later in the meeting, if this is specific to your water bill, but right now, I'm sorry, but we're just talking about the data center right now. So if there's, I know there might be some people that are here to talk about the water bill, but Right now, this is a public hearing for the data center. We will have later in the meeting, under bullet point number 11, thank you. We will have public comment, so.
Pass the rest of it around. My name is Lester Otto. I live at 18686 County Road 23, Bristol, Indiana. The last couple of weeks, a couple of friends and I have been passing out these flyers.
I have one.
The only thing different between the flyers that I have passed out to the public is the red flags on yours. Let me start out by saying I'm not a lawyer. I don't play one on TV. As a matter of fact, I'm not the smartest, by far not the smartest person in this room. But one thing that I'm very good at is seeing red flags, connecting the dots, and reading between the lines. Let's start out dot number 1. It's about the non-disclosure agreement. I believe this board is being hoodwinked by this non-disclosure agreement. It should never, ever be legal in any town meeting. It should be, there's just no place for it. How can you make a proper decision not knowing who or what is coming into town? How are you protecting the public if you don't know who's coming into town? Dot number 2, the prospect of millions of dollars of revenue is very seducing. It can solve a lot of your money issues. The question that I have for you, would you accept millions of dollars from Jack the Ripper, the company? You don't know who's coming into town. You don't have any idea if it's Sam the nice guy or Jack the Ripper. If you accept money from Jack the Ripper, who are you beholden to? Who's buying your boat? Dot number 3. I'm holding is the ordinance. I'm holding a copy of the ordinance. Right in the middle there, it says that it has to be a data center. What are your specifications for a data center? What's your scope? Does it say you have to have $400 million worth of equipment? Or is there a file cabinet out in the middle of a field with letters and numbers in it? It's a file cabinet. It's a data center. What are you going to do with the other 400 and 246 acres? But what's going to happen there? Just a few nefarious things that can happen there. And I'll have to come back because I'm getting the red flag. But I will be back.
Okay, thank you, Lester.
My name is Ryan Elliott. I live on 55868 Winona Court. I just want to, I guess, thank you guys for addressing some of the questions we have been having, mainly regarding the sound, what we have. I've heard a lot of what you guys have told us about solutions that you can provide as far as putting baffles running at certain different times, but I haven't heard an exact number on what are the decibels coming at the property line.
Why are you finished now?
Okay, so, and then the other question I have is, that's kind of actually the response I was expecting. The other part I was gonna ask is there is a well on that property. So I know they're not gonna be drilling a new well. What, are they gonna be utilizing that well? If not, are they gonna be capping? So that's another concern there, because any open well we have is 100 per stuff. You know, there's a process of terminating and capping wells. So I don't, I would like that, if you guys have that answer, I would like it, but I'll finish out with saying is, you know, through this whole process, there's just been a lot of unknowns. We've been given general ideas of what could go here, what can go there, but we haven't been given anything specific. So I ask you as a neighbor, somebody else that lives in Bristol, you know, I hope you're as surprised to seeing this crowd here as I was. Not to be veiled by the allure of having a business that is kind of trendy to come in, New Carlisle's getting it, South Bend's getting it. What to ask yourself, is it worth rezoning this? Because this is kind of our last opportunity. There's other ones that we can do, but the one foothold you guys really have at keeping this from happening is keeping it from rezoning. Is it worth rezoning it right now with all of these lingering answers that we don't have? We don't know a lot of these answers. So I just ask you to consider sacrificing, oh, I'm getting you, sacrificing, I'm glad, because I didn't want to go straight to red. Is it worth sacrificing, you know, one foot to get this passed through? So I just ask you to consider that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Randy.
Thank you. I can speak to some of that. The approximate decibel level of the property line would be 75 decibels. The town manager has indicated you're updating a number of your ordinances, probably including your noise ordinance. So, you know, we'd have to comply with that as well. With respect to, is it a data center, that the town maintains the right to approve our site plan. And I think when we come in ultimately with a site plan, I think you'll know if that's a data center or not, and not a file cabinet in the middle of a cornfield. I think that'll be readily apparent that it's a data center. And water is a good point. The property has been farmed for many years. That water usage will go away, right? And that historical water demand will go away, or you can kind of view it as a credit against the water we're going to be using. So that's even an option.
Well,
It's an option. We'll cap the well. We're not,
okay, that's.
we're not drawing any water from the aquifer. It's not even suitable for our use. So we want municipal treated water from the 12-inch water line in Bell Park. So any wells on site will be capped, and that water usage will cease and should be a credit, you know, against the 100,000 gallons per day that we estimate. Any other questions at this moment?
I think that's answered the question so far, but we'll.
I'm happy to come back up.
Can I have a follow-up to that?
Yeah.
So it's 75 decibels is what you said.
Correct, at the property.
So can you guys really make sure if you do pass this, and we look at appropriate decibel levels? I know you're looking at doing that, have that hold it, please, because 75 is the neighbor's unacceptable.
So our current ordinance is 85 decibels.
That's OJ hearing loss.
Yeah. I think what we'll be looking at the site plan is additional buffers, like hills.
Trees.
Berms and trees that we can add along that will reduce that. So that's, so you're about 1,500 feet away from the site. Yeah.
Is that on an 8-hour time weighted average or no?
That's 24 hours.
24 hours. I mean, OSHA has, you know, they don't want an 8-hour time average. Is that the rest of it? Yeah, and the, you know, within the ordinance, I mean, that's going to be up to this body, but you can obviously adopt verification standards so that, you know, an acoustic engineer could go out and test around the property and verify compliance with the noise ordinance.
And that's either on you guys or us to pay for that.
For
the sound verification. I would have to provide proof that the sound is too loud at my house.
So we have a way to test that now.
We do.
That would be Marshall Green and the ordinance officer.
That's our time, that's your money, that's our money.
Right, so we have an ordinance officer who's on, part-time, he's not on full-time, but that is something that he would check. Yeah, now, and let me ask you, I'm gonna put you on the spot, Mark, so let me ask you this question. So if we say yes to this, and we come back to you and say, hey, Mark, we're gonna say yes, but we want to berm all the way around this building. Are you opposed to that?
At the property line.
At the property line, yeah.
Sure. I think it would be reasonable that would be on the southern end where we have a residential adjacency versus on the north side where it's industrial. I don't know that it would make much sense to put a farm between those.
Well, that's why he's saying on the south side,
That's on the north side.
not to the north, because the north would be facing the industrial park.
21 is on the north. It comes off of 120.
Oh,
There's still houses on
the
21.
dirt road, yeah.
Well,
Jeff, not to be here.
Again,
I don't care about the berm, I care about the decibels.
Yeah.
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 Well, so the berm would help cut down.
But I wanna, that's what I'm trying to get at, is I want a defined decibel level, either implemented by you guys or them, so we have some standard.
So that, right, it would be implemented by the town.
Okay.
So we can review our ordinance and see if we want to lower that decibel level. And that way it's-
And frequency also,
yes,
because some frequencies are out of line.
I mean, noise frequencies or
Yes.
frequencies for time. Okay,
We have we're working on some updated language for that ordinance.
yeah. So yes, we will address that.
I'd keep in mind too, that the town manager mentioned, Elkhart just passed this new 185 page development ordinance.
Yeah.
Which you also adopted.
Yes.
So we have to comply with this as well, right? It contains standards for buffers, setbacks. Right, it's all in here, and then the site plan is subject to the town's approval.
Yeah. And to Mark's point, that the new zoning packet that was just adopted, Bristol will have its own section within that, where if the county says you're gonna build 10 feet, we can say, well, we're not gonna let you build more than 10, it's gotta be 8 feet. So we can adopt stricter standards within the town guidelines than what the county says. And in a lot of cases, that's what we plan to do. So, sir.
Okay, name's Edward Pegg, 19739 County Road 14. I'm on the south side of the project.
Okay.
I understand what y'all are saying about decibels and stuff, but what it comes down to is you had how many years you've been arguing with Belmont, getting them under control. I'm over a mile away as the crow flies. On a good evening, I still hear them. So, and this project here, it's 250 yards behind my house. If they're getting away with the same noise that much closer, and half these people are a whole lot closer than I am, it's gonna be, and who makes the decision? Now, this gentleman talked about all the berms and everything they could do. At what point does somebody stand up and say, it's too much, you gotta do something? Because we lived with Belmont for how many years, and it's still ain't ideal. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay, thank you, Edward. And just as a response, like we said, we are addressing the ordinance for the decibel level.
Well, no.
And if we lower that decibel level to 60, 50, 40, whatever we do, trust me, we will hold them accountable for that.
I just know how long Belmont's been there.
Yeah.
And they're still.
And lights.
Well,
yeah,
you're right.
My name is Pam Kaiser and I'm actually from Middlebury, but I have concerns because I am still part of Elkhart County. And I think that it's not just about Bristol, it's all about Elkhart County. I happen to be at the zoning meeting, at the planning meeting, excuse me. And one of these men said the decibels would be maximum 65 during the day, or I'm sorry, at night, and 70 during the day. Now we're hearing other numbers, 75. I think they're talking on both sides of their mouth to get you to pass this. The other concern is that in other ordinance, or I'm sorry, rezoning things that I've been to with the commissioners, before anything is done with rezoning, there has to be things, ordinances set in place, because that, what they're gonna do is based on what's in place at the time that the rezoning is done. That is my understanding. So I feel like from that standpoint, there should be no reason why this rezoning should take place tonight. The voting should not take place. One of the other things that I feel it's not really being talked about. I'm in Middlebury. I'm on the aquifer. And I think everything we hear about, oh, it's coming from the river. Ultimately, it is coming from the same aquifer my house sits on. That's a problem because we don't know the long term. Are we going to have the water we need in 20 years? We don't know. So I hope you will really look at that in detail. The other thing is the electric grid. We've never really heard, this was brought up at the county level. And there was nothing specific said about whether or not NIPSCO or federal regulators would have the power for this facility and for the rest of us. Are we going to face brownouts because of this facility that works 24/7? There's one more thing I want to mention because I'm getting the yellow card. Gensler. You talked about Gensler. I looked up Gensler. Gensler is the architect he talked about. They are partners with the WEF, World Economic Forum. We're talking about a UN invasion of our communities here all around us. And I think you better all take a good look at that and make that part of your decision-making process. Because we are not for that. We are Americans, not part of the UN. Thank you. Amen. Amen.
My name is Sarah Summerall, and I live on Bridgewater Court in Bristol, Indiana. And my husband and I also pastor a church in Bristol here, so we have a large part of the community that attends. And I just want to say, when this whole thing is over, if you vote yes, they get to go back to where they're from. Everyone gets their money and goes away, and then we're stuck to pay the bill. We're stuck with any effects that happens. If there's a meltdown or anything that happens, guess what? They're on to their next project, and we're the ones that have to pick up after this. And so that should be considered. Radiation and 5G goes way beyond property borders. So how does that affect food, crops here that are growing, animals that are grazing? All that stuff, is there testing going on about what the radiation amount is going, or if it's 5G, is it what's being used to bring in information and pass out information? Also, can Providence guarantee us that whoever this is, which I find it funny that the very company that wants to move into our town won't even show their face to talk to us.
That's right.
Where are they? They're using Providence as a patsy to come on and make their case for them. Can you guarantee us that they have no connection to China, TikTok, that they're not going to be any breaches? Will you sign your name and say that if that happens, you'll be held responsible? You probably won't, because you cannot guarantee us that. So if it's not 100% guarantee, we're not interested. Also, just standing in the hallway, I just happened to look up reviews on your company. And there's two places to do that, Google and Yelp. And you may think, well, people put whatever they want to put on there. But for hardworking citizens that spend our hardworking money to buy property or to build a house, this is only two platforms that we have to come and speak our mind. So, and be heard. So I would like to say that you have the lowest rating on Yelp that you could possibly have, 1 star.
There you go.
You have, and I could just continue reading through them. We signed a contract, and I mean, it goes on and on. Pictures, do not use them to build your home. 5 years ago, 1 year ago, this is a horrible company. They do not give what they deliver. They do not say what they're going to do, and they do it right. Don't get a home from them. Don't have any part with this company. 10 months ago, 1 star. I recently visited my children of Valpo who bought a home from this developer. And she goes on and on with mold issues and issues with the house. Shame on you for taking advantage of people. 1 star 2 years ago. Looks like there's already here on Providence experience, our experience has been horrific. People have, tape issues, paint issues, framing issues, insurance having to go back and fix things. Funny how they took my review down over 2 years ago. We're just gonna keep putting it up so that people know not to use Providence. Just make sure everything you're done 3 years ago, Paul, 1 star, is done properly before you close. They do not honor their 1-year warranty, and I have no hope for the 10-year warranty. This is a horrible company. It goes on and on and on. Not one positive building review for you guys. So if we do want people coming into our town and bringing jobs, this is not the company we're looking for. This is not the people that we want coming in. And the connection to WEF, it's ridiculous that we're even having to sit up here and say, hey, we want to be heard. We want to be heard. And you even said the tax abatements. You said we're getting $1 billion for that building. It's not just a building, it's a building and everything in it. The building itself is not 1 billion. It's the building and all the stuff in it. And then you even said we haven't even passed yet whether we're going to give them abatement or not. So that's not even, you can't even guarantee us that that's not going to get taxed. So you could, after we all leave, decide, let's give them the abatement. And then we're all just kind of screwed because we all felt like, oh, yeah, they're for us. I'm raising my voice as a citizen, as someone who also knows a lot of people in this community. We're not okay with this. We're saying, please vote no. Please listen to the people who elected you and put you guys in those chairs. We do not want them here. And it's not a personal thing. It's about our families. It's about the next generation. It's about what's coming down the pipe. We are better than that, and we want better for our community.
I wanna make sure we understand this correctly. This is Providence, not Providence. Providence is not their company. Providence is their company. Providence seems to be a home builder. Providence is not a home builder. So
Okay, so I'll Google you guys.
Thanks. Yeah, so it's 2 different companies.
But everything I said before that still stands. Hi, Ginger Lyons.
Hey, Ginger.
Hi, 306 Chestnut Avenue. First of all, thank you for serving your community as elected officials. Some of these are in the form of a question, which if there's not enough time, they could be answered at another. I understand that the area has been designated by the town as an employment center. After construction is complete, would the company consider reparceling to the town 1 to 3 acre strip along the south edge of the property where homes could be built or a large number of trees and vegetation could be planted, again, to increase the depth of that barrier? This would help protect the existing homes to the south of the project. It would also enhance the fence and landscaping being provided by the company. Will there be a TIF bond? Who will take it out, the town or the company? Would the town also support a 10 or 15-year TIF instead of a 25-year? Will you be using a model that would allow the town to receive the extra tax dollars, or would the company receive those? The extra tax dollars once the bond payment has been met. And then what would the impact on residents be during construction and operation as far as utility disturbances or low water pressure, just for example?
We haven't really talked about the TIF area, so I don't know that we're far enough into it to understand what that would look like, Ginger. Whether it would be a 10, 15, and 25. And as far as the TIF bond, I don't know that that's been brought up.
Discussions that'll happen further down the road as we get more familiar with what what we need to develop site. Remember, the town is interested in getting part of our bypass built with this project.
Right.
So we have a stake in this game as well.
Yeah.
So there'll be some, and the there'll be negotiation, but all that happens in a public setting, so it'll be
Yeah.
a public hearing and.
Yeah.
That,
Mark, can you address the question about the power usage? I know I think there's been discussion with you and NIPSCO and AEP maybe, or INM.
Right.
Yeah, can you address the concerns there?
Sure, we've had dialogue with both power providers. The way this works, NIPSCO does a detailed load study. And when they do that study, they take into account, all existing demand that exists in the circuits that are affected. And then on top of that, they evaluate their capacity and what might be available for us. So they do that. So that study will be performed, and it hasn't yet, but it's in process. It takes a while for them to do that. And we have to work within the available, power capacity that's there. We have 345 kV transmission lines on the site now, and a project that was previously approved by NIPSCO with the new substation. Obviously, you're aware of the new substation going into the town with two new 138 kV circuits. One of them runs right along the northern edge of this property. In fact, the owners had to dedicate right away or easements. So a new 138 circuit right along our northern property line, and then just north of that, basically coming down Railway, going to the substation next to the NJB building, just on the north side of the rail. So all that gets factored into and calculated into the load study that they're performing. NIPSCO also has, you may know, a number of green energy projects underway. I think they have about 8 wind and solar projects underway to create more green energy, which is great. We like that. Also in Indiana, you all know better than I do, there are a number of wind and solar projects throughout the state. People like Lightsource and others have huge wind and solar projects that add not only is it green energy, but it's additional power generation capacity to add to the capability of the grid. And another thing that might be of interest, for a project like ours, we take power from transmission circuits, regional transmission circuits, 138 kV and up. We don't take power from a distribution circuit, which is what serves local businesses and residents. That's a 69 kV and lower that serves local folks. We're taking it off transmission lines, so it's a different circuit than what serves local businesses. And then lastly, MISO is the grid operator, in this part of Indiana. PGIM a little further to the east, and MISO ensures the grid reliability. All the power providers work with them, and there's also federal oversight in terms of the grid reliability and generation capacity. So we have to go through all that process, and it's underway.
Okay.
But we believe, based on the discussions we've had, obviously, we wouldn't be here if we didn't think there was sufficient power for our needs in excess of what's being used today.
Okay, so just to clarify, the 138 line that you referenced, that's not something that at my house here on Vistula Street, I use, correct?
Right.
You guys are using completely different power sources than residents and other businesses within town. Okay, thank you. Oh, sorry, one more question, Mark, just to clarify. Sarah brought up 5G and radiation, and how the data is brought into the facility. Can you guys address that concern?
I'm sorry, we tag team the issues.
Okay.
Just the electromagnetic radiation, I think that she's talking about, it would be no different at this building than it would be for a typical commercial office building. And what you would expect is a fluorescent light bulb from a high voltage transmission line about 200 feet away. That's why a lot of times they're elevated and separated. So this isn't going to generate EMFs or a lot of the other concerns any different than any other building really would.
With all those servers, it's gonna be the same as like one of our RV factories, even though there's how many, so you guys gave the number. And all that internet that's gonna take, and the wireless.
Right.
Same as
Inside the building. Inside. Concrete steel.
To leverage and grade is your own.
I'm Pat Blakeslee, 19620 County Road 16. And heard a fair number of numbers tonight, but, and it seemed like a good time to ask this, since you were just talking about the power. And that is, just what is the power consumption of this facility? Because it drives everything. How much cooling you have, because every watt that goes in has got to come out. So that tells you how much water you're gonna use, how much circulation, how much noise you're gonna generate in doing that, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm wondering if we can get a number as to just what the power consumption is.
The preliminary study underway is for 400 megawatts.
Per hour,
Preliminary
Per hour.
study, or you'll cap it in?
Total.
per hour. What is that, per hour, 400 megawatt, that's the correct units, that's megawatt hour.
It's not really expressed that way, it's 400 megawatts.
Good evening. I wasn't gonna talk tonight, but you guys took some swipes at us in Indianapolis, so what can I say?
That's spanking, what you've done.
Yeah, well, no, there's some more up here. So, Mike Dorio, I live in Jefferson, Indiana State Senator. I was lucky to represent this area for 6 years. Unfortunately, they took it away from me. I sit on Senate Utilities. I will say that I have had a long discussion with I&M, and if you can red card me all you want, but I ain't gonna.
Still trust me, he won't.
And I had a long discussion with NIPSCO. I get scared when you all bring up wind and solar. My son was an electrical engineering major at South Dakota School of Mines, and they had a saying, sometimes the wind don't blow where the sun don't shine. So NIPSCO's conversations with NIPSCO, they assured me that will have the power. They are bringing a 325 megawatt gas plant in the near future, which I'm very pleased with because we need instant on power. The big problem with this whole thing is that I did not know about this project until the zoning hearing. I talked to every other legislator. They did not know about it. I will tell you, there are legislators throughout the state that aren't happy, and things will change. So I can't say I'm for this. I can't say I'm against it. I know nothing. And I will also say, Mike, you and I sat on Plan Commission for years. I sat on Plan Commission for 24 years. I never would have gotten over or gotten away with a glazed over presentation like we heard tonight.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. I'm not for it, I'm not against it.
I just don't know enough.
Will turn out right. So my name is Austin Mullins. I just bought my new house in the center of the tree line that's being engulfed by the. Yeah, it's kind of funny. It's like, since I'm one of the new homeowners there, there's also several other houses that just got put in, and it's been roughly maybe 3 years for everybody. And I, statistically speaking, since I'm a big statistic person, the roughest, earliest thing I can think of is for around from 2022. Most places that were built in by companies like this, not a diss at you, it's factual. Property value goes down. And I just bought this house roughly 8 months ago. So once construction actually starts, my property value is going to go down and I'm going to be hit by it because I'm going to be still paying the same amount as I am currently. On top of that, eventually, it might take 10 years, it might take 15 years, who knows? Property value will go up, but I can't wait that long. And personally, I came from Shushawana, LaGrange area primarily, and I wanted to get out of the factory hustle and bustle of city life primarily. That's why I moved to Bristol. And it's just close enough to Elkhart to where I feel comfortable going there, then coming back to a nice hunting area. And like a lot of people say, it's pretty much taking over all the farmlands, which I'm not a big fan of because I'm a farmer primarily when I was younger. And I hate to see that go, especially since there's plenty of deer out there and turkeys. Big hunter, if you can't understand me. But the big overall payout for me is the price of my house and the price of everybody else that has to pay for it, and it has to deal with everything because personally I like to shoot my gun, and that's the perfect place out there for it. And now I'm being told that there are going to be factory buildings out there, and God forbid my bullet ricochets and hits their building, because that's always a possibility. You hit a rock and it goes flying several hundred feet per second. And I don't want that on my conscience. And is it possible for them to tell us exactly where all the buildings are going to go ahead of time? Because frankly, since that tree line is entirely getting engulfed, I know there's some guys behind my house who love shooting their guns. And last thing I want to hear is ambulances rushing through and cops rushing through our backyard just because somebody shot their 12 gauge. Thank you.
Thank you, Oscar.
Eat some crow. I do apologize for looking up the wrong company, but I did look up your company. Are you Newport, California?
Right.
Okay, there's not one review. There's 0 reviews. You don't even have one. So suspicious. And my question still stands. Can you guarantee that there's no nefarious actions that are going to happen with this facility?
I'm not a nefarious individual. You could run a litigation search on our company and you'll find in 33 years, we've never been sued, not once. And so please run a litigation search on me and our company, and you won't find any litigation either. We're an honorable, credible company. I will say though, we've done light industrial projects as well. If we were building a 250,000 or a 300,000 foot building like it's been built along Railway on spec, you wouldn't know who was occupying that either, right? No one would know. I'm building a building, I'm gonna hire CBRE, we're gonna put a sign out front for lease. Anyone could lease it. So the secrecy aspect, I think, is being overblown. You have, or any of these, not even 300,000 buildings, 300,000 buildings that become vacant. Again, anyone could come and rent that building, right? You never have control over occupancy, right? It's just not, it just doesn't happen that way.
So I will put you on the spot, Mark.
Yeah.
The question's been
I
asked.
don't have a lot.
Yeah, sorry.
It's your job.
The question's been asked, the concern has been raised. I know you can't tell me the name of the company, but can you tell us, is it a US-based company?
Yes.
Okay. Any ties
We're not
to,
working with any foreign
are there
agent or company.
any ties to the company you're working for that go outside the US?
Well, anytime.
Let me back that up.
We talk to many companies that do business all over the world.
So are there any ties to any foreign governments
No,
with this US-based company?
no.
Okay, thank you.
And Gensler is a US-based architect.
Art Gensler is a pioneer in the architectural world.
Correct.
In my previous life, I worked on a lot of Gensler projects with Steelcase, so I know the company well. And I'm telling you, they're a very reputable firm. one of the best in the world.
And he's still up there. We asked that it be answered, the question that was asked, where is the building going to be located on the parcel? Since someone did ask it and it wasn't answered.
Well, I think,
Is it gonna be on the north side, the west side, the north side?
it's gonna be, as Tim
Near the
indicated,
existing house on the 21.
it's likely to be 200 to 250,000 foot buildings. Going across generally the northern property line.
So if we go back to,
You look at the aerial,
yeah, let's go to the aerial here.
and I keep going.
Page 4.
We have a lot of room to work across the northern section of that. I think one of the speakers asked about, a berm all the way across, and we did too. Council President.
Well, you addressed the
We're happy to
one on
put
the
it-
south.
I'm
Not
sorry, let me finish my thought. We're happy to put a burn, excuse me, all the way across County Road 23, up and around the homes and down, down that side. Happy to do that.
Or across the rest of the southern side.
Are you willing to put that in before construction starts, so we don't have to miss the construction?
Sure, will it go in as part of the site grading before, as part of the overall site work, when we mobilize the equipment to do the grading, that's when we're moving dirt and would construct a berm.
Can you move back to the other one where it shows 120 and the properties up there?
You said across.
Yeah, that one.
You said across here and down this side. What about across here? You got family homes in here too. You're gonna add that in?
That's fine.
Thank you very much.
So is this where you're right here?
Yeah, so they can see like relatively to, the north side also where, how far away the homes on that side are, since that's being ignored in the other picture.
Hi, Lester.
I'm back.
Welcome back.
I have a drawing that was given to me. And it's very similar to that, with the exception that down in this corner, there's a section that crosses County Road 23. Are you cutting off 23 right there?
Oh, this property,
Yeah, that's
has
good.
the property south of 23, but that's not in the purchase agreement.
Okay.
That's owned by the sellers, but we're not buying it. Ours is just north of 20.
Okay, that's fine.
But they own it.
Okay. Now, this council needs to know there's in St. Joe County, they're putting in a data center that I know of that's huge, absolutely huge. And this one is probably there, you're planning on. And there's another one going in New Paris. I am personal friends with some of the people that are being approached to buy their land. Well, number one, I am opposed to this from beginning to end. Any one of those red flags on your paper that I just handed out to you should stop this project now, let alone seven red flags. So please, don't vote on it tonight. For whatever reason, don't vote on it. Put it off, go through the proper procedures that all the data can be brought forward to the public. Thank you.
So just a question, Lester, for you. So based on the information that's been presented tonight, what additional information would you like to see or hear?
I don't run my household and say, oh, we're gonna go buy this car and we're gonna go on this trip and we're gonna do this. And then my husband can tell me how much money he makes. And it sounds like you have sound ordinances that you need to get established before you would do this. It sounds like there's and I don't know how the intricacies work, okay? But we are the people, we are the government. So forgive me for not understanding the order of the TIF and that. But when you do a TIF, the rest of us here pay for that, just so y'all know that's how that works. The burden then comes on us. There sounds like there's a few key things that should be established and agreed to by, there's some things he said, we'll do that, we'll do that. I think you should have that in writing before you ever rezone it. Because it's easy in a meeting to say you will do something, and then as soon as you get approved, like someone said, well, now we're gonna do it because the law says by how the ordinance was written on the night it was passed. I'm not saying they would do that, I'm saying they could do that. And you've heard a lot of concern. People have taken time from their families to show up here. And that's just not the way we run our households, and I would like to see our elected officials not run our town that way either. There's a lot of things up in here.
I wanted, can you talk on the TIFs, Mike? Because I want to address a comment you said that you take the burden on for the TIFs. Can you expound on that?
Okay, so when you are setting your budget, and there are certain income levels that you have to hit, and you've done the TIF and you've done the bond, there is now an allocation process. And when someone is coming in, and I am making an assumption that it is one of the big alphabets, okay? They have a lot of money. You could still say, well, they still want every, exemption they can get, as do we all. Then your allocation of the income that you have to raise then gets spread over the people that aren't exempted. So in that way, the other businesses do bear that burden that they've been exempted, that they would be going into that pool when they're now not, because they got that abatement, or forgive me for the lack of the proper term, because I'm not in government. That is how math works. There's a pie that you need, and there's this many people that you have to get it from. And, if they really want in our community, why aren't they willing to just say, yeah, we want to come in, we want this, we want to help your community to the fullest, not we want to take advantage. And downstate, they should be ashamed of themselves for doing that, unelected officials. I mean, I'm embarrassed that a Republican supermajority votes that way and takes it out of our hands as the community, and there's backdoor deals done. That's embarrassing. I mean, and now all we can do is fix that at the ballot box. And in this small town, why do they need one? Have you ever thought about this? In New Paris, in New Carlisle, in South Bend? I mean, how many data centers do we need? And once farmland is destroyed, it's destroyed. Whether it's solar, whether it's wind, whether it's the waste, whatever kind they're going to have, you're not going to get that back. And we all look like we like to eat. I'm just saying, sometimes you can't just keep going. I mean, the love of money is the root of all evil.
Right.
Why do governments never cut their spending? Not even the rate of spending. It just keeps going up. You want to attract people to Bristol? Start cutting your budgets and start producing income that way. And when you lower taxes, and I know you all know, we have seen increases in income. I'm not trying to get on soapbox, but there are other ways, and I'm tired of government just growing, more money, $23 million. Ooh, look at the shiny thing. No, I want to look at my farmer, and I want to say, I got your back. I want to look at my neighbor who said 85 hearing loss, that decibel is okay with you guys. I would just say it has to be tabled. There's no way that you could vote to rezone it, because my neighbors don't deserve to lose their hearing, so we can have a data center that is mining every piece of.
Can I say something? That a TIF and an abatement are two completely different.
I know, and that's why I said, please forgive me, I may not be using the right term.
Okay,
That's
a TIF is not
Correct.
anything to do with tax money coming out or anything like
Can
that.
you define a TIF, please?
Mike's better at the definition than I am.
Yeah. So the town actually has seven TIF districts right now, so we designate an area, and within that area, as new development happens. So by the way, you're really close on the concept, which is difficult and complicated to understand, but the area, all the new assessed value within that area, all the new tax revenue from that is captured within that district. We do that to build infrastructure, so it helps build the water, the sewer, and the internal streets, and TIFs only last typically 25 years, and then they go away. Then all that assessed value goes back out, and the tax bill is covered by more assessed value, so everybody's rates normally goes down. So what we use TIP dollars here is we can use the TIP dollars to build streets in town. We use some TIP dollars on water infrastructure projects. We're using, you were here earlier, we talked about using some TIP dollars to renovate some of the downtown stuff. So things that normally we use general fund monies for, we can on certain projects use TIP dollars. So the town's budget can only grow, the state says 4% a year. That's how much money we can grab from property taxes. So the benefit of growth is that you spread that budget over more assessed value. The downside of the TIP is we protect that assessed value for some time, and then it comes on.
And I assume TIP is an acronym. What is it?
Tax incremental finance district, tax incremental finance.
And I want to throw something else in there too, Mike. So just so everybody knows, the TIF area generates funds. As Mike said, we can use that for roads and street, infrastructure improvements. One of the big things that we utilize TIF dollars for in Bristol is our fire protection. The town of Bristol does not have a fire tax. The residents of Bristol do not pay anything for fire protection. 90% of how we,
Next year it'll be 100%, will be paid out of one TIP. Actually, most of this year's paid out of one TIP, which is up in the Ember and Rushport. So a few businesses are paying for everybody's fund.
so next year it's gonna be 100% of the cost of our fire department contract is paid through the TIF area. The funding that comes from the TIF comes from the businesses within that area. I can sit right here and tell every person in this room, there's not a single resident in the town of Bristol that pays a single penny for fire protection. Our funding comes from the TIF area.
In discussing it regarding this company, are we talking about taking TIF money from them or giving them TIF money? How does it?
Well, it sometimes works both ways. One way or another, as I've shared with Mark, he's building a road in his building. One way or another, he's paying for the water and sewer. Now, we may keep the TIP dollars and do the project, or we may create an arrangement where he gets the TIP dollars and he builds it to our standards. So one way or another, the business pays. The other thing we're talking about using TIP for is there's potential for a new residential development north of town. The only way we can make affordable housing anywhere close to being affordable is the town does some sort of subsidizing. So we might use TIP dollars to build the interior streets and the interior water sewer to make those homes more affordable. So the new development helps draw in new residential. So it's not, TIPs aren't perfect, but they are a tool that we've used to grow the town and
Would this one be 25 years? Is that typical?
typical of 25 years.
Yeah, typical TIF is 25 years.
Could you make it 3 or 5 or 10 or 15?
We could end it whenever we choose, as long as there's not an obligation on those funds.
So again, I think you may be confusing the abatement with the TIF. So when a company comes in to an area and they ask for an abatement, basically what they do is they promise that they will do certain things. They say, we will build a building that's valued at this. We will put contents in the building that are valued at this. We will hire this many people and we will pay our employees overall salaries of $1 million. Everybody, all the salaries combined, they'll pay $1 million. They present that to us and they say, we would like a tax abatement. We score their request and determine, number one, are they eligible for an abatement? If they are, do they get a 3-year, a 5-year, a 10-year? What do they get? And typically a tax